most of the ladies, most of men, even the adults and even the children, they are being affected by this mental trauma. So you may ask yourself, what is mental trauma? Before I continue, can someone just volunteer to define what's mental trauma in your own understanding? Briefly. Mental trauma. Yes?
If mental trauma in my own understanding, I would define it as that you, like, something happens that really affects you mentally, that really alters your normal functioning in your life, in the different aspects of your life.
Wow, thank you. Clap for him. For us. Okay. Mental trauma is the damage or injury to the psychology after living through an extremely frightening or distressing event, and may result to challenges in functioning or coping normally after the event. If you want to write, mental trauma is the damage or injury to the psychology, damage or injury to the psychology after living through an extremely frightening or distressing event, and may result in challenges in functioning or coping normally after the event. Okay, people, after having this encounter to some challenges, or even it may be in a war, it may be even emotional, lack of support from someone. So if these things interfere with your mind, there are some feelings that you always go through. Either shock, you can be shocked, you may feel shocking, you may feel some extent of fear. Others may result up being anchored over some other things. I had a case where a student was not being supported by parents completely. The student is a campus student, then he is in school, but he's lacking pocket money completely. He's lacking, his fees was paid halfway, and now it's nearing the end semester exam. It's coming to the end semester exam. The person has no fees completely. When she tries to call home, the phone number has been blocked. Eating was trouble for that student. Until the time the student came and explained to me, then I knew that this person is experiencing some mental trauma. So even as you are sitting here, maybe you are experiencing something difficulty, maybe from the past, or you are experiencing it at the moment. This is what we are discussing. So we have examples of trauma, or examples of events that leads to this trauma. The first example is natural disasters. Natural disasters as fires, earthquakes, among others. You remember the case of 2007, that was during that election. There was so much violence, people were killed. Imagine a very young child, let's say of 12 years of age, or even 13 years of age, the person seeing how others are killed. You just see a person is being killed, slicing as you are seeing. So it affects your mind. We have got such kind of people. They are undergoing such challenges. So it is us as mentors, it is us as people that have schooled to know how we deal with these people, because they are really being affected. Now it is your role. Another one, it will be through interpersonal violence. That's example number 2. Interpersonal violence like rape, child abuse, or the suicide of a loved one or a friend. So another person may be raped. You see, we have cases where ladies are raped, even men are raped. Are you aware of that? Yeah, even men are raped. So you may come at a case where someone has been raped. So she's going through psychological feelings that are affecting her negatively. So at a campus level, or how the world is at the moment, you can get like a man You go and toast a lady. You understand what toasting is? Toasting is cocatia. You go and seduce a lady or toast a lady, then you are given a block. You go and try another one, you are given another block. But unajikonsole, alafu na move on. Sindio? So, we get such kind of feelings. So, people are going through many things. You get other ones, try to post even WhatsApp, relationship is calm. Love is calm. And they are students. They are going through those things. The result of this trauma may even result to someone going and hanging himself or herself. We've seen cases where men are slicing their girlfriend, and girlfriend also, they are killing their men. It's a situation that is being seen. That means there is something that is disturbing them mentally. Those are situations that we have to deal with as mentors. How do we deal with those situations? Another case, we may get a case whereby another one is involved, a person is involved in a serious car accident or a workplace accident or any other form of accident. When you experience people are being killed, when you see people in an accident, then you see how blood is getting out, how people are dying, so it affects you psychologically. Every now and then when you remember that situation, you feel distressed. You feel shocked, you feel some sense of fear. So how do you deal with such kind of situations? So trauma may arise even from betrayal, embarrassment, bullying, grief, divorce, or simply absence of emotional support. I've explained the part whereby a student is not being supported financially. It can also affect your mind because at the moment, you have no one to lean on other than to lean to that guardian that always provide for you. So, instead of betrayals, you've seen youths, your lady or your man betraying you. Even in marriages, people betray each other. And now, you've given all of you, the best of you to someone. Then that person goes ahead to break your heart. How do you feel? You become distressed. You start feeling weird. You start feeling some sense of shock in you. And people are going through these things. So how do you fight these things, you as a mentor? You as a counselor. So there are four types of trauma responses. 4 types of trauma responses. One thing that we need to understand that trauma responses can either, okay, when I say trauma response, I only try to mean how do you cope up with that situation that you are currently in. That is a response. You've been faced with something, so how do you cope up with that? So trauma responses can either be adaptive or maladaptive. Trauma responses can either be adaptive or maladaptive. When I say adaptive, means the healthy version. You see, you can either respond to it healthily or positively, or you can respond to it negatively. So we have the healthy version and the unhealthy version. The healthy version, we call it adaptive. The unhealthy version, we call it maladaptive. You may get a situation where a person, when he was young, he was bullied. And now the person, after being bullied, the person now grows that mentality in him or in her, that for me to survive, for me to protect myself, I have to bully others too. So, whenever a person encounters any situation, what he thinks in his mind is to bully back. Why? Because he was bullied when he was young. So those are the kind of situations that people go through. The person may even age. Okay, the situation happened when the person is young. Now the person is at an old age, but that mentality is still in a person. He still feels that to protect myself, for me to make sure that I am safe, is to bull others. Why? Because it happened when he was young. Okay, that was the response that the person took. But now when you come to a certain age, you have to realize you don't need to overdo it. If you overdo it, it becomes unhealthy. It becomes maladaptive. It becomes unhealthy. So when you get at a certain age, whereby now you can protect yourself using other means other than bullying, you can use it. That one we call it healthy. So the first response, the first trauma response, I will call it the fight response. The fight response. And the trauma response of fight is when we figure out that in order to survive, we need to fight back. I've already explained that. And if you overcompensate or if you overdo, it becomes unhealthy. So don't overdo it. There are several ways in which you can approach to a trauma. So there's this case where a young man, he said that for me to protect myself, I have to bull others. But if you overdo, it becomes unhealthy. The second response is the flight response. Flight, F-L-I-G-H-T. The flight response. This one, it refers to escaping and avoiding. You escape some situations. You avoid some situations. You may get a situation whereby it's affecting you. But you see, for me to survive well here, I just have to avoid this situation. Have you ever gotten yourself in a situation where people are speaking badly about you, either in the community there, or they are saying something that is affecting your mind? Have you ever involved yourself in such a case? In such a case, you can use a flight response. You just avoid such a case. You avoid yourself. Avoidance or escaping from that situation is one way of fighting that trauma. There are so many instances that you can avoid. For instance, in a marriage case, you get a husband and a wife. Maybe there is a conflict in between them. For you to continue that peace and to maintain the marriage, you can decide to avoid or escape. Not escaping doesn't mean that you get out of the marriage. You just escape the situation for you to maintain that peace. It's a way of dealing with the trauma. It will not affect you. Why? Because you have avoided it. You have simply avoided it. Are we together? Okay. Another thing. Okay. The healthy version of it is taking the break from overly upset people. When you disengage yourself from difficult conversation for some time. If you see something, a conversation that will lead to affect you, you just avoid it. That is the healthy part. And the unhealthy part, which we call it the maladaptive, is when you escape your responsibility, seeking solace in alcohol, drugs, etc. You get at a point whereby, because you face to this thing, it's affecting you mentally. You see someone now trying to come up with a solution that for me to cope up with this situation, I have to engage myself in drugs. You've seen people like that. I have to engage myself in alcoholism. You see, the person even end up avoiding his or her own responsibilities. Why? Because he's feeling some sort of trauma, some sort of distress, feeling uncomfortable. That is the unhealthy version. If you come up any situation in your life, or even your children, you have to tell them that if you get yourself in a certain situation, it's better you disengage yourself from that, you escape it, you avoid it, rather than avoiding your own responsibilities. How many parents have we seen, because of what is affecting them psychologically, what they went through, now they are feeling uncomfortable to support their children, to support other things. They avoid their own responsibility. They don't take care of their own responsibility. I used to have a neighbor whereby her child was very furious. He used to tell her mother, "Mom, you are an irresponsible mom." Why? Her mom does not consider them at all, does not perform her responsibilities. So the person, if you avoid your own responsibilities, is not a way of solving what you went through. The mother was doing that because there was a time where that child disobeyed her in a very awkward manner that I can't even explain now. But now that is not the way of solving it. Another way of solving trauma is the freeze response. The freeze response. In freeze response, it simply means we stop, we stand still, and we don't do anything. We don't move either forward or backward. If a situation has happened, what you simply do, you assume as if nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. For example, your mother and your father are quarreling. If you get into wanting to realize why are they quarreling, it will affect you psychologically. But if you stand still, you maintain what you are doing, it will not affect you. For instance, if you are working somewhere, you see, when something is affecting you, you cannot be able to work well. Are we together? So if you are somewhere and you are working and something is affecting you psychologically, you cannot work well. So the best thing that you can do for you to continue working well, you focus on what you are doing. Assume everything around you is okay. For instance, if it's a road accident, it has happened. You assume as if it has not happened. Sometimes you may hear people talking so many things about you. That is what majorly happens in campus. Don't concentrate in them. Don't concentrate in them. Some people will try to think, what will be about my future? What about my past? Don't think about it. That thing will affect you psychologically. The healthy version of it is that we become mindful and we stay still and we remain in the present moment. You remain in what you are doing. You remain in what you are doing. Don't go to other business that does not concern you. So that is one way of solving trauma. The unhealthy part is when you dissociate, you detach yourself from whatever is happening around you. You may end up being too stressed and completely switch off when you reject any situation, any stimuli. What this means is that if anything happens, don't detach yourself from what you are doing. Continue with what you are doing. For instance, if you are a student, then something is happening around you. Don't leave academics. Just continue with it. How many people have we seen killing each other because of ladies? Why? Because they don't know how to detach themselves from that situation. So you just detach yourself from it. And the best time will come where things will move fluently, where things will move very well. So the freeze response is part of the response of dealing with trauma. Another response is the fawn response. Fawn, F-A-W-D. The fawn response. The fawn response simply means you do what pleases others. People pleasing activities. You do what pleases others. If you are in a situation whereby you are doing things what others do not like, automatically they may end up saying anything or doing anything that will affect you psychologically. But if you do what pleases them, then you are avoiding that trauma. You are doing what people like. But now, that is the healthy part. But the unhealthy part is when you overdo. Don't overdo. Sometimes know what you want. Know what you are focused. Having a focus, having a goal is very vital. If you overdo it, if you overdo looking on what people want and doing them extremely, it will be of disadvantage to you. So you don't overdo it, but you need to listen to others, support them, care them, having compassion for them. That one is well. As I finish, allow me to tell you one story. But please, don't cry for me. I was born as a result. Okay, I've never shared this with anyone. But because we are in a leadership team, let me tell you. I was born as a result of rape. My own mother, she was raped with some individuals and she was injured. Then, after at the time they realized that she is pregnant, after 9 months, I was born. Being born, my mother died there completely. I don't know my father. My mother is no more. I've never seen my father. What I only know is the story. It is a painful thing that always affects my mind. When I was at high school, being supported by a guardian, at first I failed my first Form 4. Then I went to mixed school. After getting there, I got engaged with a certain lady. My life has been full of challenges. After engaging with that lady, it was a deep relationship. Then later, the lady came and died. It was confirmed that she was HIV positive. Some always wonder why. Snenepi. Okay, I love the mood. That was a story of Kevin in London.